Hey guys, Shane here, Aus Flight Simmer. Welcome to another episode of Test Drive. Now, if you haven't seen one of these before, this is where we take a scenery, an aircraft, an add-on utility in all different flight simulators, and I'll take it for a spin around the block and give you my first impressions and let you know, is it value for money? In today's video, we are checking out the Take Command Hot Start TBM 900 for X-Plane 11. I've been anticipating the TBM for quite a while, and I'm sure it's going to be in the running for one of the best GA releases of 2018 or one of the best GA releases of all time for a flight simulator. We are in Orbx Pearson's field for X-Plane 11, so why don't we take a closer look at the TBM and then we'll get her up in the air. Now, a picture says 1,000 words, they say. Well, I would have to say that this video clip of how good the TBM looks on the exterior would be more than 1,000 words. A couple of disclaimers. The video you're seeing, we are using a version 1.04. I believe it's up to a 1.08 now, and the great thing with this developer is they're continuing looking at performance and fixing bug fixes and really tuning this aircraft to be absolutely brilliant in performance in X-Plane 11. The package comes with 8 liveries and also one famous one. It's the TBM 850 style livery from Stevo1 Kenevo. But if you want, you can customize the aircraft to what you want. You can put your own tail numbers and just the fonts, and you can put it where you want to on the aircraft. This way, this one's yours, and being a persistent aircraft is you get to look after it, it's yours, and any damage, you have to pay for it. The Hot Start team has really focused on their architecture for multi-threading systems and to leverage the performance of modern CPUs with many cores, which I think it's great for this day and age that developers are looking at those sorts of things. All in all, I would have to say the exterior of the TBM is a 15 out of 10. The team have done an awesome job when it comes to 3D modeling, texture work, and all the final details. If you want details, you're gonna find details in here. And I'll tell you what, I don't have an hour and a half video just to explain of all the details and things that have been included in this aircraft. I'll let you guys be the judge of that yourselves, but it is phenomenal. Well done, Hot Start. So now it's time to look at the menus and the configuration tools that come with the TBM. The first one is the aircraft manager. This is where the persistence comes into it. So you have different airframes and you can keep those airframes because they have persistence. You can also share them through a network, and also this is where you set up your tail number. As you can see, I've got the Aus Flight Simmer tail number there. The second menu that you'll see is the maintenance manager. In here, it will show you how much it has cost me so far to maintain the engine. So obviously on my first startup, I pretty much blew the engine and it cost me 380 odd K to replace it. But everything has been modeled and simulated in here, and it shows you how much it costs to replace it or fix it. So if you're going through the engines, you can see that the persistence and also the immersion feeling of you owning this aircraft. So going through some of the things, also you got the landing gear that pops up on jacks, and it's got diagrams and pictures of everything, so you know what you're looking for. You don't need to be a TBM propeller head expert to know what you're looking at. But if you're into simulations, all this stuff is simulated, and you know, one of the cool things, like all the LEDs are modeled on the exterior and they're modeled on the interior, and they do burn out and you can replace them. Like, how cool is that? Absolutely stunning. So I have a lot of fun with this, and also I've broken a lot of pieces already and maintaining them. So even you need to replace your oxygen canisters. How cool is that? The next menu is the payload manager. This is where you can use it to open and close your doors. Also, you can add and remove your covers, like your pitot heats and your static wicks and all that sort of stuff like that. You can even enable the GPU. You can also, as you can see, I'm removing some of the wingtip wicks here, and I'll remove the pitot cover as well. I can add the chocks in it and remove them, but I'm going to keep them at this point. I'm adding the fuel on the left and right tank, and it even shows you they've modeled in the petrol caps. Now, if you don't screw these petrol caps come on, you will actually leak fuel. So that is simulated as well. So that's pretty cool. So I'm only going to leave one pilot in here today. As you can see, the co-pilot is showing there. We're going to remove him just in case I crash the plane. I don't want to injure anybody else. But we're going to pop the GPU on, and we're going to do a GPU start. That way we will keep the engine up nice and cool. Now, welcome to the flight deck of the TBM. When you first load this up, it will go straight into some tutorials and basic lessons on some must-needed things for the TBM. This is the first I've ever seen this in a flight sim, and it is a great fresh idea, and I wish more developers would do it.
If you'd like to skip the introduction portion of this tutorial and go straight to doing the engine startup yourself, click Skip Intro. Otherwise, just sit back and keep watching.
Now, speaking of tutorials, we're going to go through a quick startup of the TBM, and we'll get out of Pearson's field. I'm going to close the doors first. I will put a disclaimer out there. I'm no expert on the TBM. This is a first look video. I've done a couple of flights really, and there is a lot to learn. But what I have learned to start up the TBM is all from the tutorial videos, which can pretty much get you, invest the time to go through them, and it will get you up and running and comfortable with the aircraft to go and do a flight within, say, 15 minutes to a half an hour. So I will say that I'm no expert when it comes to the Garmin 1000s as well, still learning of those, because I prefer to have steam gauge aircraft, but within using this I'm having a lot of fun so far. We will spend a little bit more time going through the features of the cabin and the flight deck of the TBM once we're in cruise, but I will have to say I'm very impressed with the sounds of this aircraft. All the button clicks are being done custom sounds, and the sounds of the engines on the interior of this aircraft is absolutely phenomenal. So I'll be quiet now so you can listen to the startup of the TBM.
TOS system test. Okay.
You can also pick up the headset that's on the seat, and it will put it into headset mode. I tell you what, I'm enjoying the sounds of the TBM so much I don't use the headset. I really like the different things with their air conditioning sounds, which I normally find that annoying on other aircraft, but actually enjoy it on this one. So we're not going to go through the whole flight plan of the TBM. I'll come back to you shortly as we begin takeoff. We'll save that for another video coming out soon. We are all set, and we've got a basic flight planner in there. I don't have any altitude set. We're going to do that all manually. It's going to be an interesting flight all the way to KOTH. The weather's meant to be quite bad, and we'll have a crosswind landing, should make things interesting. So I'll pop the taxi light on there. I will say it's the tutorial videos will give you some insight on how to use the throttles for taxiing. So again, I would say they are a must to spend the time to actually go through those. But we will add some throttle, and we will release the brakes and get on our way. It's a little bit hard to see here because the apron is quite even, but the individual landing gears, you can see the compressions as you taxi along, and also on landing. To taxi this aircraft well is a real treat and a thrill when you get it right. Obviously, I recommend again to take a look at the tutorials. Once you get the hang of it, it is a really nice aircraft to taxi along. Obviously, having an engine with this much horsepower, you think it may get away from you. It doesn't. It's a very manageable and a lot of fun. Some aircraft in X-plane don't taxi well at all. They sort of scatter around across the runway or on the taxiways. This one doesn't. It really controls quite nice, and it's a good joy. So it's not a very long taxi down to where we need to get to. Once we do that, we'll pop the flaps down, put the strobe on, and put the transponder on, and we'll be on our way. It's a very short runway here, so we'll have to use a bit of gas to get going, but it should be a lot of fun. The approach out of Pearson's Field is quite nice. We are all configured for takeoff down to runway 22. We'll be departing pretty much straight out, and then we'll make a left-hand turn on our way to KOTH. I'll be putting the autopilot on pretty quickly just to show you how that works out. So yeah, I'll be quiet now. Please enjoy the takeoff, and I'll come back to you shortly. So pretty smooth takeoff. We popped the wheels up and putting the flaps up. And I'm getting a no sync warning there. That's because I touched my Cytec Cessna trim wheel, and it's behaving like a maniac at the moment. So we'll just trim the aircraft up. But it's very, very nice to sort of take the TBM off there and just stay above the runway and then just pop her up at the end. It's a lot of fun, a bit like a fighter jet style. So we're going to make a left turn here. As we make our way out of Pearson's Field, we've got the aircraft trimmed back up correctly, and we're going to gain a little bit more speed, and then we're going to head out on our way to our cruising altitude of 18,000 feet. It's really nice to have synthetic vision so you can see the terrain and also the flight director as well. We're going to enable our leg, and then we're going to turn on our autopilot. So I have prepped it for 18,000 feet, and we'll turn the VS speed on, and we'll increase our altitude, and we'll turn our nav on, and we are on our way. So why don't we take a look at the exterior of the aircraft as we head out of Pearson's Field. Welcome back to the cockpit, the cabin of the TBM. We're at our cruising altitude of 18,000 feet, and we are living the dream. So we're going to do some panning shots of the TBM. As you can see, it is all about detail. Details such as things like the thumbnail grips on the knobs have the exact same amount of thumbnail little notches as the real TBM. Everything has been thought of and included and replicated in this aircraft. There is also a bunch of systems that I haven't even spoken about yet, so I'll go through those as we are having a bit of a look around the cabin. And they are synthetic visions on the PFDs, integrated live charts from the FAA, custom prop governor, crew alert systems integrated into the avionics, environmental controls are integrated, the GWX-70 weather radar has been integrated, and many more. As we move back to the back of the cabin, you can see that the level of detail continues through, such as 3D modeling for the seat belts. The blinds go up and down. You've got the doors showing their lock with the green symbol. Also the table has animations. Even there is space underneath the seats that have animations of the storage opening up as well. And all with great performance too. So we're going to make our way back up to the cockpit, and I'm going to show you a quick couple of things when it comes to the Garmin 1000. The 900 is equipped with the Garmin 1000. Now, I do believe these are the default ones from X-Plane, but they have been beefed up and tuned to its last millimeter of features for the TBM 900, such as the checklist, also the charts for your arrivals and departures, which is really handy. If you're like me that aren't familiar with sort of glass cockpits and prefer steam gauges, if you spend a bit of time, it's not too bad, and I think we've been a good quality that the TBM is including. Things actually work the way that they should do, and it sort of makes a lot of sense. You know, things are included on your map display, such as your airways, your terrain, your traffic. Adding a flight plan and also changing it on the go if weather changes is pretty intuitive. So if you're like me that's not a big fan of glass cockpits, or you're not used to it, you know, this one you can give it a go. It's everything's modeled correctly, so the learning curve is pretty short. I'm only basic sort of knowledge at this sort of stuff, but I'm pretty happy with it so far. So I thought I would show that just in case you're on the fence. One of my first thoughts was it's glass cockpit, it's not going to be for me, but hey, I'm having a lot of fun. So within saying that, we're going to continue on our flight level of 18,000, and I'll come back to you as we're into approach to KOTH. Welcome back to the cockpit of the Hot Start TBM 900. We're in approach to, I think it's runway 26 into the ICAO COTH, which is KOTH. I would say the flight dynamics and the flight characteristics of the TBM are really awesome and a special treat, especially when it comes to landing and crosswind landing. So we've got a massive crosswind, and we'll be crubbing like a champion as we get closer to the runway. And I will tell you, this landing is not going to turn out like ponies and rainbows, and that's what it's like. I've made some greases with this aircraft and also on crosswind landings. You know, with the flight characteristics, I need some practice. And the really cool thing is, I think I've read that part of the beta team, or the beta team that tested this aircraft, was an actual owner of a TBM 900. So that was really interesting to hear. So gears are down, flaps are down, and we've disconnected the autopilot, so things are looking good. There hasn't been that many aircraft that I've reviewed in the test drive series in 2018 that gets the reaction such as the TBM for me, which is, you know, your heart's pounding, you get sweaty palms, because the aircraft is persistent and it's yours. You want to look after it. You don't want to replace any parts when you land, and it's not the easiest plane to land, as I mean it is realistic. So when you've got some weather like crosswind like here, you really need to pay attention. So the added effect of landing the aircraft, doing it spot on in a simulator, is also exaggerated that you don't want to wreck your plane, that you've put a lot of hard hours in there. So I have this thing is where the less amount of money they have to put in repairs, the better pilot that I am when it comes to the TBM. So we've been saying that now. This landing doesn't turn out like the way that I want it to, but I wanted to include it so you can see what it's like on a crosswind landing. So I'll be quiet now and I'll come back to you as we are taxiing off the runway. Talk to you soon.
Airspeed.
How much fun is that? And to the point that I mentioned before, I actually panicked on this landing because I thought I was going to do some damage, and I pulled back onto the yoke and put the aircraft into the air and panicked. So, and that's where I went wrong. So let's have a look at the replay and see how she looked on the exterior. I'm definitely going to be looking for scratches once we shut down the engines. So all in all, my final thoughts for the Hot Start TBM at 900 is a buy. Once you finish watching this video, of course, I would highly recommend it. I've only gone through probably maybe 50% of the features that are included in the aircraft. It would have to be my favorite aircraft in 2018 and in my top 2 of aircraft all time from any sort of flight simulator. It is absolutely phenomenal. It is a higher price aircraft, but that's because all the features, I think it's a value for money, and if you can't afford it straight away, I'd highly recommend saving up because you won't be disappointed. So please stay tuned for more videos on the TBM 900. I'll be doing a full flight video out the next week. That should be a lot of fun. If you like these sorts of videos, please hit the thumbs up button. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button as we have weekly content coming out all the time. So my name is Shane, Aus Flight Simmer. Hope to see you on the next video. Cheers, have an awesome day.